We live in a fast-paced world where many people are too busy to sit down and read books or news articles. But thanks to Newsly, you can now listen to the news you wish you had the time to read. By utilizing AI technology, a natural human voice reads you the news, helping you grasp the information faster and more efficiently. Newsly provides the latest news updates 24/7, letting you browse articles from topics you choose. It even has podcasts, including ours. And listeners of Rabbit Holes can get their first 30 days of premium for free, allowing you to enjoy an ad-free experience by using the special promo code in our episode description. So download Newsly today for free on iOS and Android, or visit www.newsly.me so you can stay updated on the things that matter to you.
Moving forward.
Kako, everyone, and welcome to another weekly foray into everything imaginable here at Rabbit Holes. With me, as always, is the lovely Miss Sarah Rodriguez. Say hi, Sarah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back.
How's your week been?
You know, it's been good. I've had a good, productive week. Got caught up in a new show that I wanted to tell you and everybody else about on Netflix.
Ooh,
and yeah, everything's going great, cruising. And yeah, how about you? How was your week?
Oh, not too bad. A little hectic, a little crazy. It turned out that after I activated my new domain for my website, that all my emails disappeared for 30 days. So now I have to figure out who might have sent me an email, figure out which emails at what point I sent fell into the black hole void, and I have to go back and rewrite brand new emails to send people, and then slip in the old emails.
One of them, yeah. I've been looking. I have a bunch of emails that said it didn't go through from you, and I was like, I wonder what this is all about. And now I know.
Yep. The more you know. Yeah, so for you kids out there that are a little more technical and you're trying to run your whole hustle yourself, if you're ever trying to set up a new domain and you already have email hosting somewhere else, make sure to connect the two, or else there is a delivery conflict in the mailing system. The more you know. All right. Well, before we go down the rabbit hole of fun, let's talk about what's going on in the news. And let's talk about, specifically, you know what? Let's put aside the world at war. Let's put aside most of raising gas prices. Let's put aside all the crazy of the mainland, and let's try to focus on Hawaii, because you know what? Yeah, we've had people of Hawaii on the show, and we talking about the cool stuff. Later in this episode, we will have a great interview with one of the best people to become a local asset, Mr. Mike Latronic. So stay tuned for that.
Oh, gonna be good.
Gonna be good.
Okay.
And while Zelensky was busy, staring at the wolf at the gate, and the world was getting angry and angrier about all the crazy things, all the convoys and the hackers, and all the stuff we've been talking for the past couple of weeks. Kind of been going crazy back here in Hawaii. So it turns out a couple weeks ago, just before the end of February, a house collapsed onto the beach on the North Shore because the surf is high. Like, so, statement from city officials said shoreline hazards due to coastal erosion exist fronting Monster Mush surf spot between Rocky Point and Sunset Beach. Unstable structures have been shifting, resulting in debris on the beach and nearshore waters. Ocean Safety recommends using extreme caution or avoiding this area. Personally, I say exercise extreme caution by not putting crazy houses on stilts on the edge of the shore. I mean,
for real. I know. I saw the segment, and they did say that it was originally like the shoreline was like 20 yards out or something like that when the houses were built, or even further. But hello, there's a thing called global warming going on.
Well, I mean, in their defense on that part, I say the house looked old enough. But I will say that, you know what, like, growing up in paradise, both in Hawaii and in California, and watching, like, shoreline houses go up, I always looked at that as crazy. Like, I mean, it's cool to be able to see the beach from your house, but quite frankly, I feel that that's a waste to the whole community accessing it, the ecosystem. Like, I'm hill people. All right, I like living up country.
Yourself getting screwed over later in the future when it starts eroding at your house.
Yeah.
So why would you? I mean, obviously this is going on. It's happening. We know it's happening. So why would you choose to put a house so close to the shore?
Yeah, but even for houses that predate like the idea of people like considering global warming and shore erosion, you know, I mean, mind you, like these last 10 years have been eye-opening because people are finally starting to see like erosion charts. You know, YouTube is unlocking their mind to this.
Was even a topic.
Houses. I mean, so that's the thing is like a lot of these houses exist before it was a topic. Back when people even more hippy dippy type of ecologically friendly people were like, yeah, that's a crazy idea. Cow farts ruining the atmosphere. No, we got to get rid of these chlorofluorocarbons. And it's like, yeah, bro, we got to get rid of all of them though.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And did you see that basically the state has kind of put their arms up and they're like, hey, this is a public beach, so we can't put up walls or anything. So you're kind of on your own.
Yeah, but the state passes the buck anytime it can. I mean, look at the circus that it is there at the Capitol and I mean in most of the counties. I mean, bless the hearts of the people that are trying. I mean, we're lucky in some cases when it comes to like the state of the city council and the mayor's office in Maui. But then like, you know, you go into a bigger city, you know, you're on Oahu, you're in Honolulu, you're in Waikiki, like you deal with shit like that. And that's like, you got more people talking in a room to try to solve one problem that probably could be solved by one problem. So like it's I think that's kind of the part that makes the stressors hard enough on the people of Hawaii is that like way of life is different enough between each island, and then way of getting business done is different enough between each of its people that when the whole state has to come together, they're just like, oh, bruh, I don't like try anymore. Enough already. And they're just like, hands up. Like, you know, it's like.
We don't know what the right answer is.
Yeah, no, so there's a lot of just like, you know what? If we just sweep this under a rug, nobody will see it. It's like, bro, you can't sweep a whole house under a rug.
Right? There's a lot of houses on that strip right there.
Yeah, and half of them look like they could probably stand another like, you know, 5 yards of erosion before it becomes a critical issue. But then at the same time is like, how many new development setups are starting? I mean, shit, they're trying to like take over the rest of that chunk between Wailea and McKenna on Maui, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And then you've also got, like, in the upcountry, there's homestead land that's even, they're trying to take away and turn back into non-homestead land. There's a lot of...
How could they even do that?
Well, see, what happens is they create these little backdoor policies that open up temporary contracts and stuff. You know what? Let's just get into the next subject so we can talk about that, actually, because here's a huge... Yeah, so forget about houses falling into the ocean. Actually, you know what? Disney, if you're listening, that's the sequel to Up. I'm going to call it Float. And a guy detaches his house from the shore of an island, and he floats out to sea. Float.
I watched that.
Copyright, Kawika Hoke. There we go, Disney. Give me a call. Cha-ching. That's the sequel right there. But no, so we're going to float ourselves back home to Maui, and we're going to talk about... Here's the crazy thing. So as we know, and the rest of the world may not know, there's a lot of issue with getting a hold of water in Hawaii. And in particular, on Maui, we see a lot of these issues as water that once freely rushed down the mountain all the way to the sea for usage is now diverted to other places and people, So you got like A and B, who just loves to buy anything that's connected to water rights. Not many people know that they own last I checked when there was this hip documentary I was working with, it was like 90% of the island, and then they sold part of that 90% to Monsanto. So even if that number is lower than 90% now, part of that 90% went to somebody else that we don't want to have it. So there's been these what they call revocable contracts, which means temporary contracts that they drum up and they go, okay, bro, here's the deal. You're not supposed to have that water, and it's supposed to go to the people, it's supposed to go to the farmers, but look, you cut us one check, right? We're going to cut one channel for you. And that's what they do. They turn around and they make these little backdoor deals and they create legislation that says, oh, we can do this. Which actually brings me,
Just with a loophole, but just for a certain amount of
time.
time.
Oh, yeah. No, you want it. Yeah. So there's the case of the water in Maui. So, you've got, half of that is just sucked away by A and B. The other half is divvied between a couple other small investment bidders that have been scooping up acreage day by day. Some of them are even major pieces of the community that, at one side you're like, wow, these are people who provide for our community, but then they're short-sighted enough to think that they can take the water from the rest of the community. And it's hard enough going on. I feel for all our cousins and fam on Oahu that just had to deal with Red Hill, because this is a growing issue. Access to water on a chain of islands that produce their own water. We have natural aquifers, that help produce clean, tasty, perfect pH balanced alkaline for all your growing needs. Water, sustenance of life, and it's disregarded as a commodity now. So,
yeah.
Luckily, the Hawaii State Supreme Court has ruled in favor of the East Maui terra farmers and the native Hawaiian practitioners. It said the state's issuance of revocable permits to divert millions of gallons of water per day from East Maui was not authorized under law. Which is funny that they turn around and they say this is not authorized, even though they just look.
But yet it's authorized.
They looked the other way. They looked the other way. They would look the other way and they let this legislation occur. And a lot of this happens because people get in there and nobody's there to raise their hand and go, brah, I don't like this. And that's really why I feel that these things need to be brought up on the show. Yeah.
So these deals are being made not publicly,
No, they are. That's not. No, here's the craziest part is most of these deals are made publicly, known publicly, interactions in politics, interactions in daily community forums. There's opportunities. There are a lot of people that are sitting on the front lines fighting this, but we need more.
Just not enough.
No, well, and it's not a matter of enough. It's a matter of momentum. I think that there will be a tipping point soon. I think that, the best we can do is to just continue to kukua for the cause. But I think that there's a lot of people out there that go, not my problem, bro. Same way that the state passes the buck, there are people that are just inundated with the hard part of the day, the hard part of their life. And they're like, I got a hard enough time trying to feed my kids. Why the hell would I want to try to feed the world? Why, I got a hard enough time getting water for me. Why I got to worry about water for other people?
Right. Pick their battles. Don't we all?
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of people pick their battles, but I got to say, you know what? Hey, bro, if you're listening, start picking a battle, because there's no time like the present, The evil men of this world only triumph when good men do nothing.
Ain't that the truth?
Exactly.
If nobody picks up to them, they're just going to keep on doing what they want to do.
And I feel that, the world has fallen into, a deep-seated hole of creating too many supervillains and not enough superheroes. And we have this kind of imposter syndrome getting in the way on one side of potential superheroes. And then on the other side of potential superheroes, we have just the strain of daily life.
Yeah.
Whether or not they have clean water, Like whether or not their house is going to wash away into the sea. Like whether or not they got gas, you know? And then that's crazy. Like talking about like temporary permits and things that the state will let happen just because when they look in the other way right now, gas. Look at what's going on with gas in the country and what's about to happen with gas in Hawaii. That the Hawaiian legislator has just brought up a bill saying that they're going to try to void pieces of the Jones Act to make sure that oil can get into Hawaii better. But that begs the bigger question to me, then why can't we just get rid of the damn thing?
Well, yeah, exactly. If they can adjust it accordingly to benefit us at any point.
Well, it's not to benefit us, it's to benefit big oil. Because they want to give Russia the finger. They want to tell Putin, oh, look, we do have a supply chain. But we kind of muddied up that supply chain by creating these egregious laws against the state of Hawaii and the Hawaiian people. And yeah. And so the Jones Act has complicated a lot of things. Like I personally know a guy who tried to start a food truck business, ordered a custom food truck from the East. And then when it arrived at the port at Honolulu, they're like, bruh, not allowed. You either got to send them back or we got to blow them up.
Why?
Because they're not allowed to bring in items like that. And they gave him like stupid excuses. They're like, oh, it's not made to state spec. And he's like, I actually talked to right people and this is made to spec. And I'm like, no, not going to happen anyways. And I told him, you know, when we talked about it, I was like, dude, you got to talk to like congressman or state representative, something, bro, something. And he called him and he was like, shoots, they told me, it's kind of hard to fight City Hall on that one. And so there's a lot of small things, like things to think about. Like, you ever see a 99-cent store on Maui? No, we got that Dollar Tree out near Lahaina, right? But no, right. You know why you can't get a 99-cent store or a Five Below?
Why?
There's two big reasons, all right? One, it's going to create unnecessary amounts of trash because you're going to have all these blow-away cheap-ass businesses. But then two, the Jones Act. Half of those things can ship to California and end up on a shelf at a 99-cent store, but half of those things can't ship into Hawaii. You can't even buy like camera batteries in some cases. Like I feel like a drug mule when I have to take parts for equipment for a movie.
Oh, I've been trying to get like lights and stuff out here, but I can't get them out here because they have lithium in it. So there's many things. A little mini generator I tried to get out here, couldn't.
Never mind the fact that you can go to Costco and buy the Duracell lithium, like, you know, outdoor picnic battery. Yeah, but it's crazy at what they authorize. So they'll authorize that for Costco to bring in a shipment, but they won't authorize it for you to, yeah. So unless you order it, send it to your brother out in the mainland, they unpackage it, repackage it into their crap, and hope they get on a flight when nobody no care, and then they get it to Hawaii like they were muling a fucking key of cocaine. Like,
seriously,
it's easier.
Up in here, huh? We gotta smuggle that shit in.
It's easier to get meth into the state than it is to get a battery for your camera.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's the priority system of our state government and the people that control it. Some of these people are just suits that have been imported from the mainland and have been carpetbagging all the way from the East Coast. Some of these people are people that we know and love in our community that really need to get their shit in check and recognize what side of the fight they need to be on.
So what can we all do then to maybe just show awareness of it? How can we change this?
Show up. We got to show up. I mean, that's the biggest part is like, there's always going to be a city council meeting. There's always going to be a new bill. There's always going to be a new piece of legislation, whether it's trying to watch the feeds on a Kaku Media or listening to PBS or showing up at City Hall. Like, I'm not saying you have to show up to protest because a lot of people don't like showing up to protest. That, and I feel that there's a fair amount of protests out there that don't get the message across. You know, there were times that when I slipped over to the left side of the political gamut, I was like, well, you know what? My allies in this region tend to be more Democrats, so I'm going to show up at a rally with them and support my Democrat friends on the other side of the aisle, and hopefully, like, us together fighting for this is going to cause a change because both parties recognize it. And then even they get lost. You know, so I'm not saying you have to go out there and light things on fire or actually like scream with a sign. But if you want to scream with a sign and it's well-founded screaming, go right for it, bro. But
I'll scream.
yeah, but like just knowing what's going on is important right now, because we have a huge community of people that are getting their news from not many sources.
Yeah.
And not really trustworthy sources. They're newsworthy sources. You know, I wouldn't.
So much going on. Like let's say for me, we've already established I don't know much about it when it comes to government stuff, whatever. What could I do? I could show up. Like, what should I be following?
First place is start with the news. Start with your local news. And when it comes to local news, try to get it from 2 or 3 different sources. Because no matter what, bias in news exists. Has existed since the 80s when Reagan freaking took away the fairness doctrine. Okay?
What about council meetings? Like, where is this?
So city council meetings, those are usually posted on your state and county websites or your city websites. So then you could go check out Maui County Gov. And you can go, oh, look at the calendar of events. Oh, there's going to be a craft fair. And then Tuesday, we're all going to yell at each other about the water supply. And that's the stuff that you show up for. Now, it doesn't always fit in people's schedules. And so that's the hard thing, is whether or not it fits in your schedule, on whether you got to catch the video afterwards, if there is a video sometimes, or you got to hear from your friends. And that's really like the best thing that we can do, is at least saying that like there's someone in our community physically going, you know, hey, talk with your block. I mean, so many Hawaiians break bread next door with their neighbors, know them closely. They're even family in a lot of cases. So it's like, hey, if your whole family's interested in fighting City Hall and doing the great things, like, it doesn't have to be just one of you showing up all the time. It's like, draw straws and decide, okay, I got Mondays free, brah. If they yelling at City Hall on Monday, I like go. And you make the time for that, you know? So you can do it as a tribe. You don't just have to do it on your own. And that's really the part, is once you realize showing up and how much support you'll get just for showing up, and the people that you meet and the mana'o that will get spread to you and you could potentially spread back to them, like, that makes a huge difference. Just being able to communicate real truth makes a huge difference, you know? And then when you're reading world news, try to read 5 different sources and make sure they come from the left and the right.
I learned to want to be one of those people too, Attack. And I always feel like I'm not educated enough, you know? And that like my opinion wouldn't really matter because I'm not educated, you know, through like fully. So, I mean, do you encourage people to still, like, I guess, fight for it? Or like someone like me, you know, like I may not know all of the aspects.
Yeah, but if you don't know, you will know, because exercising your time into it, like, it was beat into me since I was born. Like, I like, little known fact about me, I actually hated being on stage. Interesting anecdote. I was going to be in a 2nd grade production of It's Christmas, Charlie Brown, and play Pigpen. But a week before that, back in the day, we used to have magicians and shit come to elementary schools, right? And so a week before the big play, there's a magician coming in the auditorium and spaghetti dinner night, fundraising. So my pop takes me to spaghetti dinner night and the magic show. And I'd been gaining some weight that year. And so I put on these shorts that the bugger would snap open every once in a while when I'd breathe heavy. And for a hot minute, the magician was like, for my next trick, I'm going to need an assistant. And my old man like picked up my arm and me and just like waved me in front of the audience. And he's like, oh, that excited young man right there. Come on up on stage. Come on up on stage. So they did the whole dollar in the lemon trick. You know, it's like, here, let me take your dollar, light it on fire, cut open a lemon. Yep. Is this your dollar? And then you're like, David Blaine, no, stop fucking with my mind. So before I went on stage, the button popped. As I got on stage, the button popped. As he took my dollar and lit it on fire, the button popped. And then he couldn't contain himself and he made a joke. So then I was the laughing stock of the entire auditorium because he was fitting it into his act. Needless to say, it then took away all potentiality of wanting to be a master of stage and gave me stage fright. So then a week later, luckily Pigpen doesn't have a lot of lines. The only thing you see of me in a home video is me sticking my legs out onto the proscenium from the side. You can't see the rest of my body. It's just my legs. And they're like, yeah, I'm dancing at the end of the play. That's it. That's it. That's all that was happening. And so I didn't like want to like talk in front of people. I didn't want to see. And so my grandfather checked me out of school a couple months later. And I want to say I'm thankful for this. Kapunas, if you're out there, this is the best thing you can do for your kids. Take them on Rick and Morty ass adventures. Like, he would seriously, like, he'd show up every once in a while when he knew that he had something big going on and he wanted me to see it or me to understand it for the legacy of my life. He'd show up, talk to the principal, like, yo, Principal Dodd, we got to go. He's got a tooth is falling out. We got, because he can't tell him, like, I'm going to take a 4-year-old to a rally or, like, I'm going to take an 8-year-old to City Hall, right?
Right.
So then he took me to City Hall, and then he had this legislation that he was working towards with the local government, and he was trying to bolster support from the community, and it actually had to deal with the youth in the community. So he goes, hey, why don't you go read this up there? And I was like, what? No, man, I'm not going up there. You can't make, and he's just like, nah, you got to do it. You got to do it because if you don't, then you're never going to be able to do it for the rest of your life. And so I accepted his challenge and I went up there and I spoke in front of City Hall and I got the point across. And afterwards, you know what? It still was a little freaky every once in a while getting on stage, but then like couple years of doing that, hobnobbing with other politicians, ended up in like crazy ass places, just talking story for a while, you realize it's all the same. It's just whether or not like one person's listening to you talk story or 1 million people are. So I think with that, like the thing to take, people, is that, there's a place to start, mighty acorns, build strong trees, So I'm not asking you to go out there and just like start pummeling terrible people and punching Nazis. I'm just saying, just plant your acorn, try to get your news from a different place every day. Fox is crazy 99% of the time, but I still have to read it because I have to know how half of you out there are receiving the news, and it also helps you. So if you're someone who normally reads NBC and CNN, take some time to read Fox, because then maybe you're clued into like what's triggering your neighbor.
Gotcha. Oh.
And that's a deeper reason to read multiple sources other than just like you having the clarity of seeing bias when you see it between two different papers. You also have the ability to see your neighbor, your friend, or your family's bias, because you're like, instead of just saying, oh, they watch Fox News, they're crazy. It's like, no, watch Fox News so you can learn how to code switch. And then you can talk to them. Sometimes you just have to speak a little deucey and they'll understand it, If everything, if there's anything that I've learned from the craziness of like the Trump presidency and moving forward in the fight, is that the only thing that we can do now is build better communication, because nobody likes being told what to do. Okay?
Absolutely.
Even if the answer is world changing. Okay, you have to trick people into the right thing. It's crazy. Case in point, the state of California did a test a while back where the EPA was like, guys, you got to like, whatever way you can get like energy consumption down, do it. So then like this commission was set out and they went to everybody's house in a neighborhood. They put little hang tags on the doors and they're like, between the hours of 7 and 9 p.m., you need to turn off your washer and dryer and not be on the internet, blah, 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 blah. Save energy. Do you know how many people saved energy? So little people, it was a negligible percentage.
Wow.
Wasn't a data point worth evaluating. Nobody cared. So then you know what they did after that? They went to every other house with a hang tag that said, your neighbor is saving energy. Why aren't you? Look at all this money they saved. And you know what happened? Energy saving went up like 40%. Because people got to keep up with the Joneses. Like, I mean, look at COVID facts and statistics. People are more likely to take medical advice from a family member than they are to take it from a doctor. And it comes from a place of where most working class people can't afford health care. So if they do see a doctor, it's some freebie doctor that like, oh God, please don't leave me alone with them. I just have a cough. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. You know? And then
Right.
you have like 2 generations of older people still living that like they're deathly afraid of hospitals and doctors because they were born in a century that like everything was cut off. You know? Like, I mean, there are great grandparents that still exist from a time to where like dysentery could kill you. So there's like this, you have this knowledge gap that just infects people over time. So you have certain people who grow up afraid of hospitals just because they have a family member afraid of hospitals. Or you get parents that go, oh, we can just pray it away. So we never had doctors. You know, so there's a lot of raging misinformation, and a lot of it can be cured by everybody just taking the time to tend to it, you know, tend to your garden, tend to your mind.
Yeah.
And if you do that, there's a really good chance that you can take that fight to the next level because you're not carrying the stressors of everything else. You've worked on that muscle to be able to carry its own weight, you know? So a lot of people, in the same way that like everybody wants to be rich or everybody wants to have the greatest job, it's the same application falls into civic duty. It's like showing up to the gym. The only way you're gonna make gains is showing up every day. You guys wanna make gains on the muscle of civics. You want to be able to go to the gun show of civics. Well, then show up at the gym of civics every day. Read that newspaper even if it pisses you off. Watch that fucking statement from the mayor. Get mad at him. Get happy at him. Whatever. But engage with it. Don't just sit there and go like, oh my God, tell somebody how it makes you feel. Even if you don't agree with how they're going to tell you how it makes them feel, that discourse is necessary. If we don't provide for a line of discourse, if people stop talking story, they're going to stop seeing eye to eye. And we're at a huge divide on that. I mean, quite frankly, though, like if we could all band together immediately to change something, I wouldn't even think it'd be politics immediately that we need to work on. You know, we have so many bigger things beyond just the state of America in a world where like our ocean's dying, you know?
Yeah.
It's like we have way too much pollution. We don't have enough regulation on it. Yet people will turn around and like, I don't know how the EPA became a red herring for Republicans because they're like, oh, well, you're taking away all of our manufacturing jobs. And it's like, do you really want to work in a plastics facility? Do you really want to know what it's like inhaling those fumes every day? Because there's children in Taiwan that have to make those plastics with their bare hands. Okay? That's what most people don't realize. That the equipment's behind it, the things that operate it, like, shit. You like, go watch how grocery store bags are made, and you'll never want to use a grocery store bag again. Because they literally just like they import tons of used plastic, they put it in this giant hot Play-Doh machine, pump it out into pieces, and then people literally just like with just like the same gloves you use to take your pans out of the oven, they take those and then they just stick their hand and then they rub it into little like Laffy Taffy strips and then they turn it into whatever, you know? There's so many things in modern manufacturing. There's a reason why we're trying to get rid of it. There's a reason why we're trying to find older holistic methods that we overlooked because we thought technology was the answer, you know? So I think if there's really anything that we should try to get the whole world to agree on before we even try politics, it would have to be the planet itself.
Yeah, and there's no fixes to it. It's all hands on deck kind of thing.
It's all hands on deck every day thing. You know, you have to apply it every day or it's not going to make a difference. You know, there's only so much you can do by switching away from plastic. There's only so much you could do by not using straws anymore. There's only so much you can do but those add up. So if everybody can do that little bit, that's good. But the next phase needs to be like, how the hell do we get rid of big problems? Like the Pacific garbage patch. Like that is so huge of a problem that like you can't get anybody, like it's the size of an island. Like I've seen videos of people standing on it. Like you can wait on it. You can pick through it. Like you can get off a boat and walk across the patch and just pick shit out of the trash. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
And what's crazier is like how many boats exist on this planet that like if everybody showed up for like a month all the boats in the world and just, but nobody wants to make an alliance like that.
Action. Nobody wants to take...
The excuse they have is world politics. How can you convince a bunch of boaters from Ghana to agree with a bunch of boaters from another place, with a bunch of guys from Morocco and then a bunch of guys from Yemen and then China and then communist China and then Korea and North Korea? And it's like, eventually you're going to just find yourself back in the UN yelling at each other and throwing shoes, and nobody's picking up the trash. So how do we do it? How do we go out there? Because you know what? It's cute that, like, Greenpeace wants to go out there every once in a while. There's some cute little water charity. But, like, I don't give a shit about selfie influencers who want to say I picked up, 20 pounds of trash from the garbage patch and I cried next to it for 10 minutes. Bruh, if you took me out there and I looked at it and I cried, I wouldn't want to fucking leave until it's done. Or at least I came back with a whole boat full of trash and then dumped it somewhere for people to have to fucking pay attention. Like, I thought about it quite a few times. Like, okay, well, what if we just stuck a boat out there that was an incinerator that processed the trash? I mean, so Germany actually has technology like that. That's why they have, like, no trash in Germany. Because your trash doesn't go to a landfill. But mind you, most of the stuff that survives in the ocean is plastics. So any type of processing we're going to do on that, it's going to have water runoff. So we can't really do that. So at the end of the day, it really seems to me the only thing that makes enough sense is that we have to figure out how to capture all of it and then transport it en masse. Like, it's too big of a problem to even go in there with shovels on the daily. I really think that, like you get, like, 4 big-ass boats, the largest fucking trawling net you can get, and then you just scoop the thing like a bad guy from Scooby-Doo and you drag it all the way to the mainland. And then you put it on the shore. And I mean, it seems a little nasty to think that all that stuff's going to float towards the shore, but it's just like, this stuff is making it to the bottom of the trenches of the ocean. Okay? Every time, like, unless you're lucky enough to live in a place that has fresh water supply directly from the Ina, you are staring at water that has treated chemicals in it. Like, next time, hey, folks, you on the mainland, next time you turn on your shower, look down at the ground in your shower and look at all those shiny little circular bits that come out of your water. That's PFKs, okay? That's all the stuff that they have to throw into the water supply to keep it clean now, because we're now at a point of no return of just, like, we now have to use chemicals to treat water faster to make more water available. And then when we're not doing that, we're stealing water and diverting it from major supply systems. So, like,
we need our priorities checked.
We need our priorities checked. And you know what, guys? For those of you out there playing the home game, I think that's going to be a shark we're going to have to jump in future seasons. I've always had a dream of getting out to the Pacific garbage patch and making a dent in it or making it disappear. Like, I don't want to be known as the best podcast. I don't want to be known as the greatest writer. I don't want to be known as the fucking coolest director, producer, whatever, man. But if I could be known for anything, I'd be known for picking up the trash. Because it needs to happen. Like, it sounds like a boring fucking job to a lot of people, but, like, if you don't do it, who the fuck will?
Right? It's a pretty impactful job.
Yeah.
Boring, really impactful.
I think I've fed a little bit too much into my angry Hawaiian rage, and I need to come off of my bully pulpit for a bit. We'll take a little break here for some messages, and when we come back, we'll clear our skin of the nasty thoughts, and we'll think about silly shit. Because we all need to escape every once in a while. And then after that, we'll have the captain of Stoke, Mike Latronic of Free Surf Mag and surfing legendary icon himself, man. He will be on to tell us how to keep our heads clear in these trying times. How to build the Stoke and how to be good people, even though we might just want to escape from it all sometimes. So be right back after these messages. Moving forward. When you don't vote, what you're really doing is letting somebody else take power over your own life. You wouldn't give your grandmother the power to decide what clothes you wear to the club. You wouldn't give your crazy uncle the power to post a picture to your Instagram feed. So why would you give a stranger the power to make far more important decisions in your life? Voting is the only way to ensure that your concerns matter. Period.
Moving forward.
We are back, and then some. I'm trying to like bring my blood pressure down after getting all riled up. Like sometimes.
Deep breath. Take a deep breath.
Yeah, well, I had to say that, a lot of people look at me and they go, I didn't know Hawaiians were angry. And it's like, brother, we've been hiding it from plain sight for how long? Like, yeah, we love to spread aloha as much as the next person, but what really grinds my gears is when people mistreat the earth and mistreat each other. So then I just get a little upset. But to calm down from that, you know what? We all escape. So, yeah. I mean, I've been doing a lot of escaping lately, and I know Sarah has too, because sometimes we gotta distract ourselves from reality in order to be able to deal with it in heavier doses later. So, so with that, we binge things, we watch things, we enjoy a good book or two. Right now, we're gonna talk about what we're watching this week. What you watching, Sarah?
Oh, this week, what am I watching? So I just dived into a new series called Clickbait on Netflix.
Do tell. I have not seen it.
You have not seen it? I really advise you to watch it. So I started watching it a couple days ago, few episodes in. And so it's basically about, it follows this woman and she's just kind of going through her day, right? And she comes across a video and it's a man with a sign and he's badly beaten. And it says that once the view gets up to like 5 million views, he's going to be killed.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not giving it away because it's like happens the first 5 minutes and it ends up being her brother that is in this video. So she's kind of trying to make sure that, her brother doesn't get killed and going through the backstory of why he got into this situation to begin with. And I just love this show because it really just kind of dives into like, you may not know the people that like everybody has like all of these secrets and that you never really know somebody. And I just find it a really cool and fascinating show.
Dig it. You watching anything else?
That's basically all that I've been watching. I've been really hearing a lot about the new Batman movie, and I'm super bummed I haven't seen it yet. Have you seen it?
No, we kind of promised each other a couple weeks ago we were going to go see it, and then we both got busy. So I'm making a promise to myself that this weekend I'm going to go see it. And then I also feel at that point, by the time that we talk about it in the next week, it'll be far enough away to where we can say spoilers. And anybody who hasn't seen it, it's like, bruh, I watched it late. What's your excuse, right? So we'll give everybody out there in podcast land enough time to go to the theaters, watch it, form their opinions, and then listen to us and then yell at us on whether or not we liked it or not. I was actually going to bring that up. But I've been watching Our Flag Means Death on HBO Max.
Ooh, I haven't even heard of that one yet.
Oh, my God. You're missing out on the greatest time. It's a 30-minute episodic show. There are 6 episodes out right now. It stars Rhys Darby and Taika Waititi. All right?
Oh!
And so get this. The year is 1717. Wealthy landowner Stede Bonnet has a midlife crisis and decides to blow up his cushy life to become a pirate. And obviously, it does not go well. So Rhys Darby plays Stede Bonnet. And what most people do not know, Stede Bonnet was a real pirate. He was known as the gentleman pirate, and he was considered one of the dumbest wastes of air ever to exist on the 7 seas. He was a total derp. He got into the most craziest circumstances. It's like he's the kind of guy that you told shitty bar jokes about in the 1700s, So, so there's a lot of weird truth to this show that you can check and cross over with reality. But I will have to say the fun part of it is it's a lot more lighthearted than even a Disney Pirates movie. So and it also drops a lot of shade, I feel, on like the Ren Fair community and their representation of pirates and stuff like that. And it does pirates better than they do. Taika Waititi is amazing as Blackbeard. And so where these characters cross each other's paths, Rhys Darby plays Stede Bonnet, this gentleman pirate trying to just like make a name. And he's got the most ridiculous ship. So he builds a ship called the Revenge. And this was a real ship. The problem with this ship was that it had all of these fancy fucking things on it. It was like going on an episode of MTV Cribs. Whereas your average pirate ship was something that like you could light on fire and throw away tomorrow and it'd be okay because you just steal another ship. So like a lot of pirates would just like ride their car till the wheels fell off and they'd be like, oh, time to loot me another ship. And they go off and they get another one. So this whole idea that like a pirate had a mainstay ship, he had like fucking library on it, fucking like all these crazy things that just like, why? Like it's just too posh for a pirate. So then he runs into Taika Waititi's Blackbeard, who bails him out while they're like being attacked by the Spanish. And it turns out Blackbeard is having a midlife crisis. He's just bored of being Blackbeard because like looting's not fun anymore because all he has to do is just like wave his flag and people are like, oh shit, Blackbeard, beat it, give him the gold. And so he's just like, nothing's fun, man. Yeah, it's like it's a lot like Captain Smee and Hook in the movie Hook, you know, and it's just like a long for a war, you know, type of thing.
God,
but what it really turns into is that like you've got a Blackbeard who just like he's not seeing life straight anymore. His first mate is just like, what's wrong with you? And then enters Steed Bonnet Rhys Darby, who's just like, oh well, we can just teach you how to have a fun time. And the next thing you know, they're like crashing debutante ball parties and teaching him how to be waspy just because he's always wanted to go to a fucking cotillion and then he hates it, you know, like, and then all the crazy things that come with being a pirate. Leslie Jones shows up regularly. She is fucking hilarious in the show. By all means, her cameo alone is great because she's got like her name is Spanish Jackie and she's got like this classic red pirate outfit, but then she's got a wooden arm that's always got a joint like crutched in her hand. So she's always just like, yeah. So it's pretty great.
Like pirate.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's out on HBO Max now. There's 6 episodes out as of now. I highly suggest checking it out. It's just 30 minutes. You know, and since there's plenty, you can save it for a day here and there or watch a couple if you've got enough time. But it's good. But while I've been on HBO, like, because I'm addicted to the HBO Max, it's got so many good documentaries, I'm actually rewatching The Vow right now. Have you seen The Vow yet?
I haven't. You know what? I don't have HBO and I need to get it because isn't that where Euphoria is on HBO?
I believe so. Yes. Yeah.
Because I keep hearing about Euphoria and I mean, it's gotten so big that I'm like, I need to dive into
check that right now.
Euphoria,
is it on?
At first I was like, I don't know if I really want to dive into a series about teenagers having sex and drugs. I feel like as an adult, maybe that'd be a little weird watching. But like everybody is talking about it so much that I feel like I need to dive into it.
I say check it out.
I'm going to.
Yep, absolutely. We'll just write off your streaming receipt as research for work, you know? Maybe we can get Mike Latronic to teach us how to do that, how he gets to write off his surfing trips. We could use that for writing if you're listening out there, podcasts about watching things, maybe you should ask your tax man. I'm going to ask my tax man, can I get my Netflix subscription written off if I review things? Yeah, it's a business expense.
Clothes, getting my hair done, my nails done. Right off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you got to be screen ready. Exactly. So, yeah. So, Euphoria Season 2 just dropped on HBO Max. That's right. Mm-hmm. And I guess I'll have to check it out. But there's so many good things on there. So, like, I don't normally rewatch things, but like it has to do with cults, and you know how addicted to cult watching I am.
What is it?
So The Vow tells the story of NXIVM, which is a recent cult that ended up in the news because its cult leader Keith Raniere just got sent to jail for 120 years for all the crazy shit he just did. So season 1 is insane out of the fact that one of the whistleblowers from the organization was actually a filmmaker who was told to record everything at Keith's whim.
Wow. So it's actual footage.
So it's actual footage that HBO bought off of Mark Vicente, and they're like, we're going to cut this all into a documentary and then have you guys talk about these circumstances. So there's audio from like secret talks. There's video from behind the scenes. There's daily life shit. There's everything. It opens your eyes to how crazy. No, yeah, it's worth checking out. And season 2 is about to drop any day now.
Wait, what did you say the title of that is?
It's called The Vow.
The Vow.
The
Okay.
Vow. Yeah, and it's I will have to say, as far as in the cult world, as far as like watching cult stuff, like Scientology ain't got nothing on this shit right now.
Damn.
And so yeah, the drama with Keith is so big that this show actually merits multiple seasons. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they got a third or even a fourth season, because like first he started it as an MLM that was selling just like psychology tech. And that's one of the big reasons why I'm against like all these hippy dippy new wellness healing things, because in a lot of cases people are making false gods out of themselves and making you like the person they're, making them the person you have to report to. So like Keith Raniere became this gateway to psychological tech, just in the same way as Scientology. So in the same way that you get like your thetans checked by the Scientologists, you get like an EM done by freaking Keith or Nancy Saltzman or one of the Bronfman sisters, and then they tell you why you're a piece of shit and how you can fix it. And they literally do it like that. Like they'll tell women that they would tell women that it was their fault that men have those urges, and that the second that they just succumb to nature, that it's okay. So they do all this weird gaslighting and brainwashing. They manage to convince like dyed-in-the-wool feminists to completely flip-flop their ideals and turn on their friends and their family. And then eventually they created this commune in upstate New York of like $1 million houses, because he had the Bronfman sisters, who were heirs to the Seagram's fortune, who were bankrupt, $1 billion people bankrolling this thing.
Wow.
And then he had it turn into multiple sub-organizations. All right.
And then he had an entire empire.
And inside of those sub-organizations was this group called DOS, which was hidden inside of another organization. And it was said to be this secret group that was teaching women how to like better themselves on their path to like taking over the world. But then it turns out it was secretly a place where people would get a soldering iron scribbling onto their skin, and they put Keith Raniere and actress Allison Mack. Yeah, from Smallville. Yeah.
What the?
Yeah, she was like #1 devotee. They finally just like unbrainwashed most of her. So she's starting to realize how bad she was on the Kool-Aid. But like, so they had convinced this whole group of women, and like it's still coming out at like how many women got suckered into DOS. But all the women who went through the full program eventually got Keith's initials ironed into their skin. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and there's more. There's more. The guy used the millions and billions of dollars of the Bronfman sisters to create all of these extra programs throughout the world. So then he created like these children's schools, but then he would use them to fucking traffic people. He would sleep with 16-year-old girls, 12-year-old fucking girls, because like it'd be legal in Thailand to sleep with a fucking 16-year-old lady boy. So he'd be like, "Oh, come to my retreat this weekend. We're all gonna teach you how to speak English. Please send the youngest ones this way." Yeah, and so he was total freak. His trial was like what would happen if Jeffrey Epstein didn't hang himself. But then nobody cared. Like, everybody cared enough to make it an HBO thing, but, like, he got dwarfed by the Epstein trial, because the second that Epstein hung himself, it's like, who cares about, dude, pedophile hung himself, that's,
I haven't even heard of this.
Well, and then here's the crazy part where he fits in with Latin America. He used the influence of Nexium and the money of the Bronfmans to invade Mexican elections. So here's the weirdest part. The Central Party of Mexico, which actually like stood a chance to like being a good force for change, has slowly become corrupted like every other facet of Mexican politics. And inside of that, Keith Raniere.
That's insane, though.
Because then he got them all into it, and he was making these throughout the world. So the crazy part is if this guy could ever get out of prison, he could just leave and head to another country and become the Dalai Lama crazy there. Actually, speaking of the Dalai Lama, he even convinced the Dalai Lama that he was a good guy once, and he got the Dalai Lama to fucking like bless Nexium, and and then the Dalai Lama was like, "Oh shit, yeah, he tricked the Dalai Lama." Yeah. So The Vow, HBO Max Season 2 coming soon, worth every minute. Yeah. And you know what else is going to be worth every minute? Is when we come back with our special guest, Mike Latronic, here on the pod. And we're going to talk about his life, growing up in New York, going to Hawaii, all those crazy things, how it was growing up in Hawaii as a transplant, his life, as a professional surfer. Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait to hear his story right after this brief message. Moving forward. It doesn't matter what you were wearing, what you were drinking, or what you agreed to in the past. Sexual assault is never your fault. Support is available 24/7 through the National Sexual Assault Hotline. Call 1-800-656-HOPE or visit RAINN.org. That's RAINN.org. Remember, it's not your fault. Moving forward. Welcome back, everybody. We're back from a little break here, and we've got our special guest with us, Captain of Stoke, Mike Latronic. Mike, how's it?
Good. Well, the Captain of Stoke. I'm stoked to hear that. That is an important subject right now in this world. Always.
So, Mike, I mean, the world's a crazy place right now, but you know what? At the end of the day, we can always escape to the surf, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you really try to place world events in perspective, you think about it. There's billions of people on this earth, and everybody's got feelings. Everybody's got agenda. Everybody's got schedules. Everybody's got a life. Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, I've spent the bigger part of my life creating my media, and I don't know what, obviously it's action sports and it's news and it's this and that, but in the end of the day, it's like I consider it's adventure escape media because, as much as we need to focus on environmental subjects or political subjects as a community, people have told me, like, Mike, we go to your media, we go to Free Surf magazine to escape the rest of what's in our head and in our hearts, and we want to be stoked. We go to, like, Free Surf reminds people that living in a free society, that these are the things that you can do, walking the beach, running around, fishing, diving, surfing, playing in the ocean. These are the things that are the benefits of living in a functioning free society where there's law and consideration and respect. And when you flip on the news sometimes and you see these actual stories of destitute and horrible and cruel acts around the world, you're just like, wow, I for one don't know how it gets to be like that with people. Like, somebody wakes up in the morning and goes, yeah, I want to make hundreds of thousands of people suffer, or I want to change the price of gasoline, or I don't know. Like, my world is just like, wow, there's a nice wind blowing, the waves are crystal clear. Of course, not every day is like that. Even surfers have their share of problem, jellyfish and sharks and people dropping in and too many crowds and all this other stuff. But ultimately, Free Surf is a reflection of living in a free society and enjoying our planet and sharing Stoke with other people that are around you.
Love that. So that's the story behind Free Surf then, huh?
Well, I kind of made it my company. Free Surf is the magazine. My company is actually Manulele Incorporated. There's a interesting way I got the name of that company, but Manulele technically is the bird in flight in Hawaiian. And anyway, my first wife's grandmother I used to be a pro surfer, and I was on ESPN. Back then, we didn't have the internet and all this stuff. And it was like, yeah, like, Nana, Mikey's on TV. And she comes up, this little Hawaiian lady, and she's like, look, the Manulele boy, because I'm hiding across the way. I named my company. But yeah, Free Surf is division of Monolele. You know, we do Board Stories TV as well. But where was I going with that? My company motto, or it's not a motto, but my kind of intrinsic mission statement is share the sunshine, spread the Stoke. And yeah, it's a little bit hippie, so I don't, you know, throw it out there. It's not like on the cover of the magazine or the Master or anything, but really that's kind of what we try to do. You know, we're trying to remind people why, you know, living near the ocean or enjoying your gravity from Earth is such an, you know, free and natural thing, keeps us close to nature and gives us a feeling of Stoke and self-fulfillment that hopefully people can take into the rest of life. You don't go out and have a great surf session and then go want to mess with your brother man in a negative way. You know, you should, like, oh yeah, hey, let me get that chair for you, or yeah, you go ahead, please. You know, like respect and courtesy, you would think.
Dig it. So let's scale back a little from the now, and let's kind of like, cause like half our audience doesn't know who you are, and the other half of the audience is like, cool, Uncle's on the radio.
Yeah.
So let's give a little history, because, you know, I noticed, like, in my time of following you, there's not a lot of like crazy interviews with you. It's just the usual, like, hey, this is Mike. He was born in Yonkers, and then one day he went to Long Beach, and then he went to Hawaii, and now he's in Hawaii. So like, are there extra chapters in the birth of Christ there for Mike Latronic? Is there anything interesting that you'd like to share in your history of, like, how does a young boy from out there come out here, and he's already, like, and from everything that I've ever heard of you, because this is our first time talking, like, you fit in pretty hand in glove in the community once you entered it, as far as, like, I assume from, like, as far as the lore goes. Like, is there anything that you could tell us about, like, coming in from the outside, enjoying it, becoming a part of the community, and, you know, your path on the way that led to Free Surf?
You know, growing up in New York City, the furthest thing from my mind were ocean waves. Like, I, you know, used to run. Okay, so my earliest memories were living somewhere on the east side. It was not a nice neighborhood. My mom, bless her soul, she was an artist and a poet, and you know, we were a poor family. My mom and dad split up when I was pretty young, but I remember, you know, she would always take us to the park. We were out in nature quite a bit, and then in certain summers, my mom was kind of like a total hippie adventurer. We would go to St. Croix and St. Thomas somehow. Either she'd go with a girlfriend, or she had a boyfriend, or we'd go by ourselves and visit a friend over there. And we didn't stay in hotels. We stayed in all these crazy, weird houses. But I remember going to the beach. My first experience in even seeing the ocean like that was a beach in St. Thomas. I don't remember the beach name. I just remember there was like this lunch place, bar. They were playing pool, and me and my brother used to jump off the roof with palm fronds trying to fly. Like when you're 5 or 6 years old, you can jump 10 feet and land, and it doesn't hurt. Apparently, that's what we were doing. But I remember doing that, and then we went to the water to get rinsed off, and there was these things, and we're like, oh, you know, not too bad. We'll just go play in them. And I remember me and my brother called it mashed potatoes because we'd run into it, and the wave would knock us over, and the whitewash would hold us down. And, you know, we never even knew about getting barreled or riding it. We just crash into it like little kids. And my mom kind of noticed that. She goes, oh, you guys really love the water, you know? And so we went back to the Bahamas a couple times, and in New York City, I think you mentioned Jones Beach. Yeah, I did. The first time I think I actually saw the ocean was in New York City at Jones Beach, and I saw a dead shark on the beach. It didn't scare me. I was just like, what is that fish? And the water was freezing. I didn't go, you know, we didn't go in the water. But yeah, it was more like a baseball, football jock. When I was little, I was a tough little kid, you know, totally humbled when I got to Hawaii, and even when I got to California. So we lived in New York City. My mom loved the sun and loved the beach. And so she had a girlfriend that moved out to Laguna Beach, California, which in the 70s was this kind of quaint little hippie town that had this big art festival every year. I don't know if you know about this thing called the Sawdust Festival. Eclectic artists from the community, it's just this huge art festival, and it's been going for I don't even know how many years now. But my mom was like, "Yeah, let's move out there. You kids want to go to to California?" We're like, "Ding, ding, ding. Okay, whatever." At that point though, me and my brother were really good at baseball and football. Like we were super active. We used to go to Central Park all the time and play football and baseball on a daily basis. My brother Steve was 2 years older than me, so I always kind of had to run with a group that was a little ahead of me, older. And I can remember gangs. Like we stayed out of trouble. When we left New York City, I think I was 8, my brother was 10. So it was like kind of pre-adolescent trouble. But I remember gangs. I remember getting robbed. I think we were playing on the rocks or something. We left our football gear somewhere and somebody yelled, one of our friends yelled, "Hey, the kids are taking off with our gear." We ended up chasing these kids. They dropped the gear. We got it back. But I was only 8 years old. I didn't even know, like what's going to happen if we catch them,
Yeah.
So luckily it was just kid stuff. And we got out of the big city before anything crazy happened. But we were pretty peaceful kids. And when I did get accosted in school quite a bit in New York City. So by the time I got to Hawaii, I was kind of used to this because we went to the Bahamas and my hair got bleach blonde. Like right now it's kind of brown. A little bit of that's blonde. That's bleach blonde. That's not gray. But
of course,
this I'll peel this off later. The thing was, we'd come home with blonde hair, and I got picked on by my best friend in growing up was a black kid named Jason Smith. I remember looking for him when Facebook came out, and I was like, Jason, oh man, there's too many Jason Smiths in the world. But I never found Jason, but we were like tooling around together for everything, like class and recess and after school. And his parents were from Namibia, which of course now you hear Namibia's got these crazy good waves. And I was like, yeah, anyway, I'm totally rambling. If you need to interject, go.
No, that's where the talk story is supposed to go, bro. Keep it going.
One of my good friends was also this Puerto Rican kid, and his older brother came up to us in the school and said, "Hey, you got to fight this blondie. You got to beat him up." And his brother like, "Well, but we're friends, And I'm like, "Dude, what's your brother doing?" Like, back then I used to talk like this. Believe it or not, I used to have a little bit of accent. "What's wrong with your brother? How what is this?" And sure enough, it's like he was going to beat us both up if we didn't throw blows. And I remember this in school, and it was like better us than him, right? So we went at it. None of us got suspended, but we got broken up, whatever. I gave him a sore eye, and he gave me a sore lip, and it wasn't that bad, but we got out of it. And then it was like the older brother was cool with us then, and maybe the older brother was already in a gang. I don't know. That we had no mentality about that when we were that age. We didn't have the internet. I think younger kids now have more of a span of good and bad in this world due to the absolute flood of information they have access to. But back then it was really just fun, just growing up in the city and having Central Park there. And I had a great time in school, and I got in a couple of scraps because I had blonde hair or whatever, but whatever. When I came with my first day in school in California, there was the class bull, good-looking kid, well-built, and he picked on me because I was wearing a blue jeans jacket. I was wearing a Levi's jacket or something like that. He goes, "Nobody wears that around here, hippie." And I'm like, "Come on, whatever, it's my first day. I don't know, and he's like, "Yeah, well, he just wanted to fight me." And I'm like, "No, I look at my first day. Come on." And he like pushed me, and I dropped all my books, and I'm like, "It's on." I'm like 9 years old, so it's kid stuff. But we're fully scrapping first day of school, and then whatever. I held my own. He held his own. It wasn't like, and I remember having that mentality that, wow, I have different color hair, so people are weird about this. And my mom and dad never raised me with any racism at all, no discrimination. I didn't know this until I started like dealing with it myself. And then age 12, we ended up moving to Hawaii, and oh my God. So the couple months, there's this surf contest in Laguna Beach called the Brook Street Surfing Contest. And I remember moving to so there's a lot in between here that we didn't pick up on, but the Nielsen brothers came to the Brook Street Surfing Contest. Now, if you know your 70s folklore or 80s, it was like Marvin Foster, Mickey Nielsen, Bird Mahelona, and like these guys weren't the top dogs in competition, but they were the top dogs at Pipeline and some of the main breaks and stuff. And so the Nielsen brothers, before we knew anything, were all three of them were at, there's 3 or 4, but there's 3 at the contest, and they were all like taking out our boys in Laguna Beach in the contest. I'm like, what? Anyway, we invited, we told them, somehow in my conversation, my brother said, oh yeah, we're going to Hawaii. And they came over to dinner that night, and they scared the living daylights out of us because they told us about the localism and the locals, and you can't stare at people too long, and this and that, and don't ask people what, because it's just a bad thing to do. You go, what? But I couldn't understand what they were saying, so I kept asking these guys, what? Not a good thing in Hawaii. Wow, what? Anyway, long story short, well, the long story is still long, but it was like they were so cool, and they just said, that's when I kind of learned, give respect, you get respect. Be humble. And, I was a bit of a, like, when I was 12 years old, I could do 64 push-ups in a minute. Like, nobody in my class messed with me because I was small and strong. They even wanted me to place me as a tackle on the football team when everybody was 30 pounds heavier than me. And I was an athletic little kid, and I was taking karate and all this other stuff, but I was like, no, I'm absolutely not tangling with the locals. It's their aina, or whatever you call it, and this and that. So I was always really on my best behavior, and I just lived that way. Like, be humble, be respectful. Don't, I'm kind of a ham, so that part of me came out, but
everybody likes hams around here.
That's
getting from New York to California to Hawaii was an evolution that was just, I think it was just lucky. Honestly, I think back about where I started, and my mom, when she moved to Hawaii, we scored a place on the beach at sunset in the first week we were here, first 2 weeks we were here, or whatever. We stayed with some Japanese friends and at Comsat Road, surfed V-Land a couple of times. Next thing you know, me and my brother are looking out our living room window at Sunset Point. And that's where we lived through high school. So, yeah.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So in that evolution, where does the evolution to journalism come in? What gave you that bug?
I remember I used to always enjoy writing class, English class. And I can remember some of the stories I wrote when I was a little kid were like haunted houses and spooky forests. And I don't know, like, I don't know if I should have been a sci-fi writer or something like that, but I always enjoyed writing, and I did well in English class. I think communication is not just a big gift for humans, but it kind of is what separate. I mean, animals communicate with each other, but humans take their knowledge from one generation to the next generation to the next generation and build upon this knowledge. Supposedly, we're supposed to learn from our knowledge.
Sometimes.
But, it's what separates us from the rest of the animal kingdom is, some monkey might be able to crush a rock with crush a walnut with a rock, and that's how they open the walnuts easier, and then, later on, all the monkeys, monkey see, monkey do, they start doing that because they're a little more intelligent. But, if a skunk gets lucky and rolls a rock onto the walnut and it breaks and opens, the skunk doesn't remember that and pass that on to its kids. And humans have this capacity. So the written word and the passing of knowledge and the telling of stories, I think is, it's just a important reflection of human nature itself.
Couldn't agree with you more on that.
I've shut up now.
Oh, not at all.
No.
I'm sure we could probably talk story for a long time, but before you go, what's on the horizon for Mike Latronic and Free Surf right now? What's for you particular? Anything fun in your life exactly we want to give a shout out to people to be on the lookout for?
Well, I mean, it's an interesting time in history for a publisher like myself that has most of my roots and finances tied up in print. That said, digital is a big part of our world too, but it's a challenging time. At the same time, it's an exciting time. Really, we survived the gamut of the digital revolution, the magazine did. And we've got a lot of video and digital components as well. And we haven't even begun to ramp up what that could look like. But the, the nuances of doing a print magazine in the midst of a digital revolution plus COVID-19, it's like the fact that Free Surf survived these last 2 years has been pretty amazing. And I think, I have a good crew that we all took pay cuts. I took the biggest pay cut, but my crew took pay cuts. I had to let some people go. It was survival for the last couple of years. Getting past this and all the other craziness in the world, I don't know. It's a constant, my life is guided by the wind and the waves and what's on the maps for the next week. Of course, I pay attention to world news and what's going on in the community and other things that could affect this. But I am I think most surfers, most passionate surfers, that, it's more than a sport. It's like a lifestyle. And I don't know, it'd be the equivalent of a mountain climber that knows that in 3 days' time, the winds are going to back off and the clouds are going to clear and they can get to the summit they've always wanted to go to because it looks like there's a window of opportunity. When you're surfing, you're constantly monitoring the tides and what's coming. And thank God, I mean, before we had all this satellite imagery, we didn't know really what was coming. The waves are getting bigger. The waves are getting smaller. We didn't really know. But now it's like, oh my gosh, I can semi-plan what my week looks like. Oh yeah, Mike, you got a good dentist appointment on Thursday. I'm like, Surfline. I'm like, oh God, there's a new swell Wednesday night. It's perfect east winds. I'm going to change my appointment. Only if I can. It's not, to some degree, you have to be responsible and do the things you need to do to take care of yourself and your family and your community and stuff. But man, I don't know if surfers are worse than other sportsmen, but we pretty much drop everything when there's a good swell, And it happens a lot in Hawaii, so I don't even know how I get anything done.
You made it your job to be at the summit. There
research and development. If I'm surfing, it's research and development. If I'm shooting, it's documentation and, everything in between. But don't color this painting wrong. There is so many darn there's a lot of work. I can't even tell you, just to be a photographer alone. So I shoot photos, I shoot video, I write. Obviously, I sell a lot of the advertising and connect with a lot of good clients. But when you start to break down all the logistics involved with a magazine, social media, and TV company, it's like, oh, I think I have a lot of employees when I'm able to afford 6 or 8 employees, but really I need like 14. Right now we're down to about 4 or 5 employees, and we're just hanging in there. But it's what really keeps me going is the stoke I get. Hey, Mike, we love your magazine. God, please keep doing it. And of course we have a lot of good clients, so we're managing to stay in the black. But what's next? I don't know. I want to go on a surf trip pretty soon, but it's crazy because the surf's so darn good here. But it's like a mix between travel lust, or wanderlust,
yeah,
and just seeing new things and doing new adventures. But man, every time I come home, I feel so blessed to call Hawaii my home. It's just.
Mm-hmm.
So surfing is just like eating your favorite fast food then, because for like growing up in California most of my life, people be like, "Oh yeah, man, I miss California so much. I gotta go get me a California burrito, or I gotta go get me the In-N-Out burger or something." So it's you guys get that same homesickness of these waves are great, but I miss waves back home.
Yeah, I mean, there's no place really like Hawaii that is so consistently on fire. 8 months a year, maybe even 9 months a year. It's not always the North Shore, but I'd say 6 to 8 months a year, the North Shore is like, you roll the dice. 1 week could be bad and it's good for 3 weeks, and it's bad for 2 weeks, and it's good for 6 weeks. And you just never know because the weather changes every 20 minutes. But the amount of consistent quality surfing we have here is, I mean, it's world renowned. People know Hawaii to be, the epicenter of surfing. Fast food? No, it's my health food. It's my fast food. It's my candy. It's my Haagen-Dazs, gummy bears, whatever. Surfing, for me, I'll be honest. I'm getting a little older, and when I was 12 years old or in my 20s, I used to froth all day long. Like, oh my God, I gotta and I do. Like right now, I'm frothing. I was like, oh God, we got this interview, or this.
You're like,
I can feel it through the screen, bro.
I'm driving home from Sunset after my shoot, and I'm looking. And I'm like, oh, it is so good. It's like beautiful, like 6-8 foot peaks at sunset right now, walls, and I'm like, oh God, and the swell's coming bigger. But it's like, I don't froth every day anymore. I do surf often, but after so much experience and so much enjoyment and wiping out and everything that comes with it, it is if you've never tried surfing, to really understand this conversation, you need to try it, because what your body goes through on a typical, high surf advisory day at Sunset Beach or Honolulu Bay or somewhere where the waves are powerful, between the paddling's one thing, the duck diving's another thing, and the surfing's another thing. They're all different body uses and exercise, contractions and whatever. But the ragdolling, the wiping out and the bailing your board and getting the caught inside, you can't ever explain that to somebody. It's like you're throwing yourself into a river rapid that eventually slows down and stops, or if it doesn't kill you, and your body, you think about these muscles and skeleton system underwater just going. You watch these wipeouts and you wonder. I still to this day, I've been documenting surfing for nearly 30 years straight, and I'm like, how do we survive these things? It's the everyday surfer that loves to go out on a longboard and surf beautiful little 2-foot waves or whatever and have fun and smile. That's they're probably going to get sore shoulders and sore muscles, but it's a whole nother level when you go into, Pancho Sullivan used to say this, a very famous power surfer back in the day, waves of consequence. When you're dealing with waves of consequence, you don't have a choice where you're going to get thrown. This thing is, and depending on where your body is and what's going on underwater, and you never know when the end game is coming, whether it's 10 seconds of being ragdolled or 20 seconds of being ragdolled. And when you get to a certain age, your recovery time is different. Your flexibility is different. I mean, I'm fighting tooth and nail to continue to do what I love, and that's why I do it. I've never been too partial about, how I look. I mean, I did print my hair a little bit today, but I'm just, it's how I feel, and surfing makes me feel incredible. And I'm, working out twice a week. I'm going to yoga. I'm trying to watch my diet, except when, ice cream's on sale at Foodland. Mm-hmm. But, I balance it out, and I just really enjoy surfing with my friends. Like, I'm still riding a small board. I'm still trying to do progressive turns. In fact, I'm going to be pursuing a Masters event coming up soon, because I won the world title in 2013, the ISA Masters at Ecuador. I was surfing with Kalani Robb and Sonny Garcia and Love Hotel and Ruben Balmores and Michelle Ballard. We all traveled as a team for Hawaii. Anyway, Hawaii is currently the world champion surf team for the ISA, and me and Sonny both won world titles in our division in that event. We had different divisions. And so they haven't had an event in 7 years. And I just heard, they might have it in Panama this year in July. So I'm like, I gotta stop buying ice cream.
Well, that's a really good reason to start following your diet instead of watching it go away.
Right?
I dig that. Yeah. And then that would answer your wish of having your surf trip.
Yeah. Well, no, surf trips are part of my foundation. Like, one of the reasons I think I really love my job is the adventure. Talking to different athletes that are super stoked and hearing their story and reflecting their story and showing people the beauty of the ocean and the beauty of waves and surfing. And I mean, I'm going to go into a analogy in a second, but like, showing people these things is definitely part of it, but it's also a little selfish, because I'm like, oh yeah, let's do a project this year in Tahiti. Okay, I'll film, I'll write, I'll organize, and yeah, I'm going to take some time and go surfing myself. So, it keeps me on the adventure. And I think that's really important. Go ahead.
I said there's nothing wrong with that, though. Mixing a little business with pleasure, isn't that how it should be?
Yeah. I think when people stop pursuing pleasure and stop doing the work to be at a place of prime, I got a lot of friends my age are like, oh yeah, I'm just done, man. My back is done. My knees are done. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, Mike, F you. Like, how do you do it? Like, why are you still riding a shortboard? And it's like, well, it didn't happen naturally. I've been working at this since my 30s. It's consistency and a little luck, and yeah, some DNA for sure. But it's like, you get out of life what you put in, and it doesn't happen overnight. So these things you want to do in your personal legend of a plan, you need to structure some kind of strategy that works, balance it out with your work and your family and all that other stuff. But it's like, yeah, I'm pretty adamant about my twice a week workout and my flexibility. Not that I'm no gymnast, I'm no dancer. Trust me, you should see me. Don't sing the dance, but it's when it comes to surfing, it is that's my place. That's what I'm good at. So I like to be there.
Dig it. Well, So in these trying times, from a man like yourself, could I get some advice to the world for our listeners, surfers, non-surfers alike? How do we face these uncertain times with the best stoke possible?
This is a great subject, because I was really, I was pretty high on life a couple of days ago, and I posted something reminding people like, hey, are you living your personal legend? Are you doing what you love? Because you don't have to do it every day. You don't even have to do it more than a few times a week. I think that no matter what, people in power, governments, financial systems, they're on this path that's, I don't want to say no one can control it, but it's far from anyone's individual control. I mean, there's stuff you can do, like, hey, you don't like plastic on the streets? Okay, stop buying it, that kind of thing. But ultimately, the complexity of our world and the complexity of humans who are running the world, it's almost impossible to conjure a solution in one formal sentence. But when you think about, so this is going to sound hippie or whatever, but perpetuating Stoke for yourself is important. And recognizing things in your life that bring you joy, whether it's knitting or playing guitar or you know, I don't know, working out, you know, building things, whatever, like, oh, this is my hobby. I love to do this. And so, well, you have to work an 8-hour day and it takes you 2 hours to commute. And then you got to deal with taking care of your kids or doing your homework or whatever it is. Like there's other things to do, but you really have to have the discipline to formulate your plans so that you can attend to your passions. Because if you make yourself happy, and, you know, yeah, other people can make you happy and you can find happiness and love. But really, if you find things in life that bring you joy, for me, it's surfing, playing at the beach, hearing the ocean, little things about my existence. Then if you can do that several times a week or several times a day or whatever it is, as long as you're getting some, and deal with the other things in life. Life's not easy. Life's got toil. Life's got challenges. Freaking approach it with, at least give it respect and consideration and try to do your job good. Whether you're making $12 an hour or $300 an hour, you should be striving to do good by your people, by your community. And so you take this thing that like, oh yeah, I went and played basketball with my friends, and they come out of it and they're all sweaty and stoked and they're high-fiving, and hopefully later on, the people are bringing that good energy to their friends and neighbors, wherever they are, or the waitress or the taxi driver or whatever. And surfing, you know, it's like you get a good ride, you come out with a smile. I don't care if you're a brawler or a sunflower dude. Like if you're a human being and you have this exhilarating moment and you come out, you can't help but smile. So you're smiling. The person next to you is smiling. I come out of the water most days, even when I have a bad session, at least I got my exercise, I got my salt water. You know, there's something naturally abundant about all that. But the Stoke, like after a really good session, I'll be like talking to people going, you know, oh, you're bummed. I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm trying to help people because I'm stoked.
Yeah.
So you get your place, you find your passion, you enjoy your passion, and you bring the resonance of that passion. They don't have to surf. People don't have to surf to know happiness. People just like happy people can help other people be happy with like this osmosis of happiness. So positivity, happiness, consideration, respect. The world is losing some sight on that. And so my advice is just remember what it is for you and remember to pass it forward. Even if it's just how happy you are. Yeah, I didn't give anybody any money. I didn't cook anybody's food. I wasn't helping in a bread line, whatever. I mean, that community stuff's great, but ultimately a good sense of self projected to other people can maybe give them a good sense of health. And this is where it exponentially spreads. And that's not a religion. That's just a human observation.
Mm-hmm. Right. Amen to that.
Gotta spread the good things and make them contagious. Dig it.
I love that.
Well, very thankful for your message today, sir.
Yeah.
And absolutely honored to have you in our presence. But I think I can smell that chicken dinner from all the way over here, and it's out there calling your name. Mike. Well, sir, thank you again. Absolutely. For those of you listening out there and playing the home game, Mike Latronic at Free Surf Mag. Check out Free Surf Mag. Get yourself a subscription at Mike Latronic on Instagram. Yeah, Let's give a little push of that.
The newer magazines now, right here where it says free in Hawaii, we're actually putting a QR code. So on all the new magazines, it's a QR code to subscribe.
Oh, that's so cool.
Making it easy.
Modern. We're trying to be modern.
Yeah, but I dig the little touch of analog. We need that, especially, you know, at home in Hawaii. Like we're analog people. We like that. It's part of the texture of life, you know.
If you're not outside kicking rocks and dealing with bark every now and then, you're missing out on something very, very human. And being able to touch and feel your media at times, like, yeah, I know there's naysayers. Like, I'll be the first to admit I'm on my phone more than I'm reading books. That's how things have evolved. Yeah. However, after an hour, I'm feeling that vibration in my hand. I'm like, oh my God, I need to put my phone down. I don't know if the newer generation understands this mechanism and they overdo it. You hear about these kids that sit in front of the TV so long playing their video games that when they stand up, they give themselves strokes and they're only 22 years old or something like that. And, you know, these guys, these gamers that are like, you know, 8 hours straight, it's unhealthy. So all I can say for myself is I try to have balance. I whatever, roam around Instagram and check stuff out on the web, and, you know, Trevor Noah's super funny on YouTube, whatever, and, you know, this and that. And it's like, oh my God, I guess I'm dealing with the modern age. But at the same time, I'm like, you know, I need to go pull weeds today. I just need it. I need it for...
Yeah, it's good to recognize that, though, because I don't think a lot of people can recognize, like, ooh, I'm getting a little bit too much, and I can actually feel it. Being that intuitive, I think, definitely probably plays a part that you spent so much time in nature where you can, like, decipher, oh, wait, I'm not feeling like me right now because I'm not getting that, I don't know, stokeness, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, and I implore people, whether it's a basketball game or getting together with the girls for a walk or whatever it is, like, put your phones away for at least that time where you're interacting. And let's not forget, we are tribal. We're not, the tribe does not exist in the internet. What the tribe communication exists in the internet, but we're humans. We need each other. We're you know, and I hope people can stay stoked, get stoked, stay stoked, be stoked, and share that stoke. That's all I'm trying to do.
That's great.
I'm stoked to hear all that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, Mike. We'll try to spread the message for you too. Great session. But yeah. I want you to go out there and enjoy that surf for us while we finish our podcast here. And, man, just have a rad time. Thank you, Mike.
Aloha.
Aloha. All right, Sarah. Well, that was a good time, wasn't it?
That was great.
Oh, my God. Anything left to say to our audience before we dig out?
You know what? I just think that was just everything he had to say just really, I don't know, just resonated. And I'm feeling more stoked from his stokeness. So I definitely think that it's been a good show. Our listeners feel that energy too.
Dig it. It was almost like what it's like to feel like going to church for positive reasons. I could get behind that. If I went to the church of surfing, I'd be a churchy person.
A positivity coach.
Yeah, exactly. A Stoke coach.
Stoke coach. Yeah.
All right.
Right? That was good.
Thanks again, folks, for listening to another amazing week. And we hope to see you next week again with our next special guest, Sarah. Say goodbye to lovely people out there.
Bye, everybody. Go hop along.
Aloha, everyone. Stay stoked. Rabbit Holes is a Manawa Cow production. This episode was produced by Kawika Hoke and Sarah Rodriguez. Make sure to subscribe and follow on your favorite podcast platforms to add our weekly episodes to your queue.